I just wondered what your memories were of watching the original TV show and why you wanted to take us back to Fantasy Island.
I remember watching the show and loving it. I remember the iconography of the man in the white suit welcoming his guests, the plane arriving, the fantasies that were being twisted. Probably the specific episode that sticks out in my mind is the one where Roddy McDowall plays the devil. You know, there's a real darkness to that episode. And probably I would say that's the seed of the horror movie version of Fantasy Island.
And when it came to writing it, I mean, there are ostensibly like 4 kind of fantasies, but there's some kind of crossover and intersection, which won't give away too much, but that must have been quite exciting to write, and also that mix of genres there.
Yeah, well, I got to make 4 different movies, 4 different fantasies. Each fantasy has its own look, its own feel, its own sub-genre, until they come crashing together. And that was really important to me because in the show, you always had 2 fantasies each week, and they never crossed. They never even the same shot, right? Because they were designed to be cut down to half-an-hour episodes. So I wanted to make the individual fantasies work. That's what I talked about with Chris Roach and Jill Jacobs, who wrote the script with me, before we had them collide.
And you've worked with Lucy Hale before, and I think we get to see a bit of a different side of her in this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you kind of admire about her as a performer, and why did you want her to be in the movie?
What's not to admire about Lucy Hale? She has an incredible ability to elicit sympathy from the audience. People just connect her. I mean, you're walking down the street and people are connecting to her. She is so accessible and so emotional and so present, right? But also a really gifted craftsman. Like, she understands the art of filmmaking at a very high level. Initially, when I wrote the movie, I didn't think of her because I don't think of specific actors, but someone at Blumhouse, Cooper Samuelson, recommended, Lucy for the role. And I was like, I hadn't even thought about it because Melanie is quite dark and Lucy doesn't really, in my experience, isn't that dark. But then when she sunk her teeth into the part, she really brought that darkness to it and made it even darker and did things I couldn't have imagined and really crushed it.
And what about Michael as Mr. Rourke?
Michael is fantastic in the movie. I flew to Australia to ask him to play Mr. Rourke. 10 minutes into the meal, he was like, dude, I already said yes, I love the script. He has a really cool ability to be 2 contrasting things. He can be funny and ominous. He can be timeless and contemporary. His ability to play these multifaceted, often contrasting ideas, I think, embodies Mr. Rourke.
And how much of the movie did you shoot in Fiji, and what was that like? Was it kind of challenging at times being in...
Except for some additional photography. We shot the whole movie in Fiji. We shot every frame of it there, except for the additional photography work. And it was challenging. It really was, because a lot of Fiji is not developed, and that's why I wanted to be there, because of the natural beauty. And the people there are wonderful, and they embrace the film. But in many instances, it was sort of old school filmmaking. We were living on a cruise ship, and we would just hit the beach with like some cameras and some actors and just start shooting. I mean, the only reason we were able to make the movie was because Fiji was so beautiful and the cast was so great. I mean, Maggie Q, Austin Stoll, Jimmy O Yang, Ryan Hansen, Portia Doubleday, everyone just brought their A game, and they were team players, and they're the reason why the movie works. And
just finally, I guess if you were granted a fantasy on Fantasy Island, what would it be?
Honestly, I know it's a cheesy answer, but I feel like I'm living it. Like this is a dream come true, to make a movie that has all these different genres with these incredible actors, shot it in this beautiful location, to have audiences connect to it and have even more people hopefully see it this weekend. That is 100% my fantasy, although I'm terrified how it's going to go wrong.
Jeff Wadlow, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!